You'll never survive without me. You want to go? Go! You are useless to me.
The night Tracy discovered her boyfriend was cheating on her, she didn't scream. She didn't throw his clothes out of the window. She didn't call the other woman. She simply stood in the hallway of the small apartment they had once called home and watched the man she had loved since college walk through the front door with another woman. He looked at Tracy. Then he looked at the woman beside him. And instead of feeling guilty, he laughed. "You're still here." Those four words broke something inside Tracy that years of love had failed to destroy. But what happened a few weeks later would change everything. Because after losing her baby, her home, and the man she thought she would grow old with, Tracy walked away with almost nothing. She didn't know where she would sleep. She didn't know how she would eat. She didn't know how she would survive. And then, on one freezing night in New York City, Tracy saw a homeless man sitting beneath a street lamp. He looked cold, hungry, forgotten. He stretched out his hand and asked her for money. Tracy reached into her empty purse. There was nothing inside. So she said something that would change both of their lives forever. "I don't have money, but if you're hungry, come with me. I can at least give you something to eat." What Tracy didn't know was that the homeless man wasn't homeless. He was one of the richest men in America. And within a few months, the man who had once told Tracy, "You can't survive without me," would be standing in the same room as her, begging for another chance. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 6 years earlier, Tracy Williams was just a young college student with big dreams and very little money. She wasn't from a wealthy family. Her mother had raised her to believe that hard work mattered more than expensive clothes or fancy cars. Tracy was the kind of woman who could walk into a thrift store and somehow make a $5 dress look elegant. She was beautiful, but she didn't know it. And most importantly, she had a heart that trusted people. During her final year of college, she met Daniel Carter. Daniel was handsome, ambitious, charming, and incredibly confident. They met at the university library. Tracy had been struggling with an economics assignment when Daniel leaned over and said, "You've been staring at that question for 10 minutes. Tracy looked up. "Excuse me." Daniel smiled. "I said you've been staring at the same question for 10 minutes. And you clearly need help." Tracy raised an eyebrow. "Do you know the answer?" Daniel paused. "No." Tracy laughed. "Then sit down." That was how it started. Two strangers sitting across from each other in a college library. Neither of them knew that one conversation would eventually become years of love, heartbreak, and regret. Daniel made Tracy laugh. Tracy made Daniel feel understood. Soon they were inseparable. They studied together, ate cheap meals together, walked around campus together, and when graduation came, they promised each other that their love would survive whatever life threw at them. Daniel held Tracy's hands beneath a tree outside their university. "One day," he told her, "I'm going to give you everything you deserve." Tracy smiled. "I don't need everything." "What do you need?" "You." Daniel kissed her forehead. "Then you'll always have me." At the time, Tracy believed him. After graduation, reality arrived. Neither of them found the kind of jobs they had imagined. Daniel worked temporary jobs. Tracy found work at a small retail store. The pay barely covered rent, groceries, and transportation. They lived in a tiny apartment in Queens. The heating sometimes stopped working. The kitchen had barely enough room for two people. And their old sofa had a broken spring that Tracy constantly complained about. But they were happy, or at least Tracy thought they were. Some nights they ate instant noodles for dinner. Other nights they split one pizza. Whenever money was tight, Daniel would joke, "Don't worry, one day we'll laugh about this." Tracy would smile. "I hope so." One evening, while they were eating dinner, Tracy suddenly put down her fork. Daniel looked at her. "What happened?" She stared at him. "I think I'm pregnant." The room became completely silent. Daniel's smile disappeared. "You're sure?" Tracy nodded. "I took 2 tests." Daniel stood up. He walked toward the window. For several seconds, He said nothing. Then he turned around. We'll figure it out. Tracy smiled through tears. We. Daniel walked toward her and held her. We. For the first few weeks, Daniel tried to be supportive. But everything changed when Tracy's pregnancy began making it difficult for her to work. One evening, Daniel came home and found her exhausted. You need to quit, he said. Tracy looked at him. Quit? Yes. Stay home. Take care of yourself and the baby. But we need money. I'll handle it. You don't have a stable job. I'll find one. Tracy hesitated. Daniel took her hands. Trust me. She did. And that decision would become one of the biggest mistakes of her life. 3 months later, Daniel got a breakthrough. A large financial company in Manhattan hired him. The salary was more than 6 figures. There were bonuses, allowances, health insurance, a company car. And suddenly, the life they had dreamed about seemed possible. Daniel came home carrying a bottle of champagne. We did it. Tracy laughed. What happened? I got the job. She screamed. You're serious? Daniel lifted her into his arms. We're going to be okay. For the first time in months, Tracy felt safe. Daniel bought her maternity clothes. He upgraded their apartment. He promised they would buy a house after the baby arrived. But something else changed. Daniel changed. At first, it was subtle. He started working late. Then he began attending business dinners. Then came the corporate galas. Tracy didn't complain. She trusted him. One night, Daniel attended an executive gala at an expensive Manhattan hotel. That was where he met Vanessa. Vanessa was beautiful, sophisticated, wealthy, and worked in the company's corporate relations department. She knew exactly how to make Daniel feel important. She laughed at his jokes, complimented his suit, listened to his ambitions. Daniel became fascinated, and slowly, he began comparing Vanessa to Tracy. Tracy wore comfortable clothes because she was pregnant. Vanessa wore designer dresses. Tracy spent her days preparing meals and keeping their apartment clean. Vanessa attended business events. Tracy talked about their baby. Vanessa talked about business. And Daniel began convincing himself that he had outgrown the woman who had loved him when he had nothing. Daniel's behavior became cruel. One evening, Tracy asked him why he had been coming home late. Work. You've been working every night. Yes. You don't even talk to me anymore. Daniel rolled his eyes. Tracy, I'm tired. I just miss you. You're becoming needy. Tracy stared at him. Needy? Yes. She lowered her eyes. I thought we were supposed to be doing this together. Daniel laughed. Doing what? Our life. He shook his head. You're not contributing anything. Tracy froze. What? I work all day. I pay all the bills. What exactly do you do? She touched her stomach. I'm carrying your child. Daniel scoffed. That doesn't pay the bills. Tracy's eyes filled with tears. She walked away. But the insults became worse. Then came the cheating. Daniel stopped hiding it. He left his phone unlocked. Messages from Vanessa appeared constantly. Dinner reservations. Hotel bookings. Heart emojis. Photographs. Tracy knew. One night, she confronted him. Are you seeing her? Daniel didn't even deny it. Yes. Tracy stared at him. You're cheating on me? Don't make it dramatic. Daniel, you're cheating on me while I'm carrying your baby. He sighed. What's your point? My point. She began crying. How can you do this? Daniel looked at her coldly. Because I can. Those words destroyed her. Tracy asked, do you love her? Daniel shrugged. I don't know. And me? He didn't answer. That silence was worse than anything he could have said. Daniel's abuse became physical. One evening, Tracy questioned him about Vanessa. Daniel became furious. Enough. You don't even care about me anymore. Stop. You promised me. I said stop. Tracy backed away. Daniel raised his hand. The slap echoed through the apartment. Tracy's hand immediately went to her cheek. She stared at him in disbelief. Daniel looked at her. For a second, even he seemed shocked. But instead of apologizing, he walked away. That night, Tracy cried herself to sleep. Days later, the pain started. She woke up with severe cramps. Then she saw blood. Daniel. He ran into the room. Tracy was shaking. "I think something is wrong." An ambulance rushed her to the hospital. Daniel followed, but he spent most of the time looking at his phone. Hours later, a doctor walked toward them. He looked at Tracy with sympathy. "I'm very sorry." Tracy knew before he said it. "We lost the baby." Her world collapsed. She covered her face. Daniel stood beside her, silent. The baby she had dreamed about was gone. The future she had imagined disappeared in a single sentence. After Tracy was discharged, she returned home. But she wasn't the same woman. She packed a small suitcase. Daniel watched from the doorway. "Where are you going?" "I'm leaving." He laughed. "Leaving to where?" "I don't know." "You have no money." "I'll figure it out." "You don't have a job." "I'll find one." "You can't survive without me." Tracy stopped packing. She looked at him. Then she smiled sadly. "You're right about one thing." Daniel smirked. "What?" "I don't know how I'm going to survive." She picked up her suitcase. "But I'd rather suffer outside than spend another night in this house." Daniel laughed. "You'll come back." Tracy opened the door. She looked at him one final time. "No, Daniel." Then she walked away. The first night was horrible. Tracy had nowhere to go. She spent the night in a cheap motel. The next morning, she started looking for work. She applied everywhere. Restaurants, stores, offices, hotels. Most employers rejected her. Some said she had no experience. Others said they weren't hiring. One hotel finally gave her a chance. The job was housekeeping. The pay was low. The work was exhausting. But Tracy accepted. She cleaned rooms, changed sheets, scrubbed bathrooms, carried heavy laundry bags. Some guests treated her kindly. Others barely acknowledged her existence. But Tracy kept going. Every night, she returned to a tiny rented room exhausted. Sometimes she ate crackers for dinner. Sometimes she skipped dinner completely. But she never called Daniel. Not once. Meanwhile, Daniel's career continued rising. He moved into a luxury apartment, bought expensive clothes, drove a new car, and continued seeing Vanessa. He convinced himself that Tracy had been holding him back. Until one evening, something unexpected happened. It was winter. Snow had begun falling across New York City. Tracy had just finished her shift. Her feet hurt. Her coat was thin. She had barely enough money for transportation. As she walked down the street, she noticed an elderly-looking homeless man sitting beneath a street lamp. His clothes were worn. His beard was messy. His face looked tired. He lifted his hand. "Miss, could you spare a few dollars?" Tracy stopped. She opened her purse. There was almost nothing inside. She checked again. Nothing. She felt embarrassed. "I'm sorry." The man nodded. "It's okay." Tracy started walking away. Then she stopped. She turned around. "Are you hungry?" The man looked surprised. "A little." "I don't have money." He nodded. "But I have some food in my apartment." She hesitated. "If you're comfortable, you can come with me." The man stared at her. "You don't know me." "I know." "And you're still willing to help?" Tracy smiled. "I know what it's like to have nowhere to go." The man's expression changed. He slowly stood. "What's your name?" "Tracy." He extended his hand. "I'm Michael." Tracy smiled. "Come on, Michael." Neither of them knew that the man standing beside her was Michael Anderson, a billionaire, a man whose company was worth billions of dollars, a man whose name appeared in business magazines, a man who owned hotels, technology companies, real estate, and investment firms across America. And yet, tonight, he was dressed like a homeless man. Michael had been conducting a social experiment. He had become increasingly uncomfortable with the way people treated those who appeared poor. So he had disguised himself and spent several days moving through the city. Hundreds of people had walked past him. Some ignored him. Some insulted him. Some told him to get a job. But Tracy had nothing, and still offered him what little she had. When they arrived at her small apartment, Tracy gave Michael a bowl of soup. It was simple, vegetable soup with bread. Michael stared at it. "You're not eating?" "I ate at work." It was a lie. She hadn't. Michael knew it. He pushed half the bread toward her. "Then we share." Tracy smiled. "Okay." They ate together. For the first time in years, Michael felt something money couldn't buy. Genuine kindness. He asked about her life. She didn't tell him everything. But eventually, she told him about Daniel. She told him about losing her baby. She told him about leaving. Michael listened quietly. Then he asked, "Do you regret leaving?" Tracy shook her head. "Sometimes I regret trusting him. But not leaving? No." She looked out the window. "I lost a lot." Michael looked at her. "What did you gain?" Tracy thought for a moment. "Myself." Michael smiled. That answer stayed with him. Michael returned the following evening, and the evening after that. Eventually, Tracy began expecting him. They talked. They laughed. They ate together. Michael learned that Tracy loved old movies. Tracy learned that Michael supposedly had been struggling to find work. But Michael never told her the truth. Not yet. He wanted to know whether her kindness was real. And it was. One evening, Michael arrived soaked from the rain. Tracy immediately grabbed a towel. "You're going to catch pneumonia." Michael laughed. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." She handed him dry clothes. "You can sleep here tonight." Michael stared at her. "You're letting me stay?" "It's freezing outside." "You trust me?" Tracy smiled. "Maybe I'm just stupid." "No." Michael shook his head. "You're kind." Something began changing between them. It wasn't instant love. It was deeper. It was friendship first. Trust. Respect. Then affection. Michael started helping Tracy without revealing his wealth. He secretly arranged for better opportunities. But Tracy refused anything that felt like charity. So he found a way to help without humiliating her. He encouraged her to apply for a supervisory position at another hotel. She got it. Then she became an assistant manager. Then a hotel operations manager. Tracy's life slowly improved. And Michael watched proudly. One evening, Michael finally told her, "Tracy, I need to tell you something." She looked up. "What?" "My name isn't Michael." She laughed. "Okay. My real name is Michael Anderson." Tracy froze. The name sounded familiar. "Wait." Michael took out his phone. He showed her a photograph. Tracy's mouth fell open. "You're—" "Yes." "The billionaire?" Michael nodded. Tracy stepped backward. "You lied to me." "I hid the truth." "That's still lying." "I know." "Why?" "Because I wanted to know if you would treat me differently if you knew who I was." Tracy stared at him. "I wouldn't have." "I know." Michael's voice softened. "That's why I fell in love with you." Tracy's eyes filled with tears. Michael reached for her hand. "You gave food to a stranger when you barely had enough for yourself." He paused. "You saw a person when everyone else saw a homeless man." Tracy looked down. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything." She looked into his eyes. "What happens now?" Michael smiled. "Now you decide." Michael didn't rush Tracy. He knew she had been hurt. He knew trust wasn't something money could buy. So he waited. They began dating slowly. No expensive gifts. No extravagant vacations. Just dinners. Walks. Conversations. Michael respected her boundaries. And Tracy slowly learned that love didn't have to hurt. One evening, Michael took Tracy to a quiet restaurant. After dinner, he looked at her. "Do you know what I love about you?" Tracy smiled. "What?" "You never asked me for anything. I didn't know you had anything to give me." Michael laughed. "That may be the first time anyone has ever said that to me." Tracy laughed too. Then Michael reached across the table. "I want to give you something." "What?" "A choice." She looked confused. "You don't owe me anything." He squeezed her hand. "If you love me because you want to." Tracy's eyes filled with tears. "I do." Michael smiled. "Then that's all I need." Months later, Michael hosted the biggest business gala of his career. Executives from across the country attended. Investors, celebrities, politicians, business leaders. And among the guests was Daniel Carter. Daniel had recently been promoted within one of Michael's companies. He arrived wearing an expensive tuxedo. Vanessa was beside him. He felt successful, powerful, untouchable, until he saw Tracy. She was standing beside Michael. Elegant, confident, radiant. Daniel stared. "Tracy." Tracy turned. Their eyes met. Daniel laughed. You? Tracy remained silent. Daniel walked toward her. What are you doing here? Tracy looked at Michael, then back at Daniel. I was invited. Daniel looked around. This is a billionaire's private gala. He laughed. Did you sneak in? Vanessa smiled. Daniel, do you know her? Daniel nodded. She used to be my girlfriend. He looked Tracy up and down. I thought you were cleaning hotel rooms. Tracy said nothing. Daniel laughed. So what happened? Did you come here looking for another rich man? Michael's expression hardened. That's enough. Daniel looked at him. Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Then he turned back toward Tracy. You know, I always knew you wouldn't survive without me. Tracy's eyes remained calm. I survived. Daniel laughed. Barely. Michael stepped forward. You should leave. Daniel frowned. Who are you? Michael looked at him. I'm the owner of this company. Silence. Daniel's face changed. What? Michael continued. And you're fired. Daniel stared at him. You can't fire me because of her. Michael shook his head. No. He looked directly into Daniel's eyes. I'm firing you because of your behavior. Daniel's face went pale. You don't understand. I understand everything. Michael's voice became cold. I know what you did to Tracy. Daniel looked at Tracy. She had tears in her eyes. Not because she wanted Daniel back, but because she finally understood something. The woman who once believed she couldn't survive without him had survived, and she had become stronger. Daniel's career collapsed quickly. His termination became known throughout the company. He lost his position. His bonuses disappeared. Vanessa left him. The luxury apartment became too expensive. The car was repossessed. And the man who once laughed at Tracy for having nothing was suddenly struggling himself. One rainy evening, Daniel stood outside Tracy's hotel. He waited for her. When she came outside, he approached. Tracy. She stopped. What do you want? I need help. Tracy stared at him. You said I couldn't survive without you. Daniel lowered his head. I was wrong. You hurt me. I know. You destroyed me. I know. You made me believe I was worthless. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I was stupid. Tracy remained silent. He looked at her. Can you forgive me? Tracy took a deep breath. I forgive you. Daniel looked hopeful. But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to return to you. His face fell. You have Michael. Tracy smiled sadly. No. I chose myself first. Daniel looked at her. And that's something you never understood. A year later, Michael took Tracy back to the university where they had first met. Tracy smiled as they walked across campus. Why are we here? Michael held her hand. I want you to remember something. What? Where your story began. They stopped beneath a large tree. Michael reached into his pocket. Tracy's eyes widened. Michael. He got down on one knee. Tracy Williams. She covered her mouth. You walked into my life when I looked like I had nothing. He smiled. You gave me food when you had barely enough for yourself. You gave me kindness when the world gave me reasons to doubt people. You taught me that love isn't about money. He opened the ring box. It's about choosing someone when you have nothing to gain. Tears streamed down Tracy's face. Will you marry me? She nodded. Yes. Michael stood. They embraced. And for the first time in years, Tracy cried happy tears. Their wedding took place beside a beautiful lake outside New York. It was elegant. But Tracy didn't care about the flowers. She didn't care about the expensive decorations. She cared about one thing. The man standing at the altar. Michael looked at her as she walked toward him. When she reached him, he whispered, You're beautiful. Tracy smiled. I know. Michael laughed. You finally know? Yes. The ceremony began. When it was time for their vows, Tracy looked into Michael's eyes. I once believed that being loved meant having someone who would never leave me. She paused. Now I know real love means having someone who respects you, protects your heart, and gives you the freedom to choose. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I choose you. Michael held her hands. And I choose you. They kissed. Everyone applauded. But Tracy wasn't thinking about the applause. She was thinking about the woman she used to be. The frightened young woman who had walked out of Daniel's apartment with one suitcase. The woman who had spent nights wondering how she would survive. The woman who had once believed losing everything meant her life was over. She had been wrong. Sometimes, losing the wrong person is how you finally find yourself. Years later, Tracy and Michael established a foundation for women escaping abusive relationships. They built shelters, provided temporary housing, created employment programs, and helped women rebuild their lives. Tracy became the face of the foundation. Whenever she spoke to women who felt trapped, she told them, being financially dependent on someone does not make you worthless. Being poor does not make you less deserving of love. And starting over does not mean you have failed. One evening, after a charity event, Michael found Tracy standing alone outside. He wrapped his arms around her. "You okay?" She smiled. "I'm thinking about that night." "What night?" "The night I met you." Michael laughed. "The night I was pretending to be homeless?" "Yes." Tracy smiled. "I still can't believe I invited a strange man into my apartment." Michael laughed. "You had terrible judgment." She nudged him. "Excuse me. I said you had excellent judgment." They both laughed. Michael kissed her forehead. "You saved me that night." Tracy shook her head. "No." She looked at him. "You saved me too." Michael smiled. And they stood together beneath the city lights. Two people who had once been strangers. Two people who had survived completely different storms. Two people who had discovered that sometimes the person you help when you have nothing can become the person who helps you rebuild everything. And Tracy finally understood something she had forgotten years ago. Her life had never ended when Daniel walked away. It had only begun. If you enjoyed this story about Tracy, Michael, love, betrayal, sacrifice, and second chances, remember that sometimes the greatest comeback begins on the day you decide to walk away from what is hurting you. Tracy thought she was leaving her entire future behind when she walked out of that apartment with one suitcase. She didn't know she was walking toward a new life. And perhaps that's the lesson. Never let someone convince you that you cannot survive without them. You may not know how you're going to survive today. You may not know where your next opportunity will come from. But sometimes, the darkest chapter of your life is simply making room for a better one. And sometimes, the person you help when you have nothing may be the very person who changes your life forever. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel. We post interesting and emotional stories like this every week. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.